Hey guys, welcome to tutorial 20, I do believe. This tutorial, I want to draw this, what I've called V-groove pulley. I'll just zip over to the sub-assembly, and the V-groove pulley I've called it is this cylindrical section on the back here. You can see I've called it V-groove because that's exactly what it has. It has a V-groove in it. In industry, you'd have a V-groove pulley which would run around there to create some form of rotary motion. In this case, on the back of the snow speeder, it helps to hold all of these parts of the guns or the motors or something together. So the V-groove pulley, here it is here. You can see it's finished on this sketch, or sorry, on this diagram. What I'm going to do is grab the timeline and just drag it back to the beginning to show you how I went about drawing things. So we started off with a cylinder, we extruded it to its full thickness, and then we drew a sketch. Just turn it on in the center. I'll just go to my front view here. You can see there's the sketch where I drew the V. Okay, and the center line here represents the center, the halfway between those. I then revolved that V to remove that material like so. After that, we drew another sketch, which I'll just turn on the top here, and we can see it's consisted of two circles, an inner and an outer. We then extruded that down, and then I could have done the same down here, but mixed things up a little bit. I then drew in a construction plane. I'll put a construction plane through the center here. And then I use that construction plane to mirror this feature below here as well, just for something different. The last thing was to draw a hole going through the center, which I think must have been this next sketch. It's on there somewhere. Let's turn it back on again. Where are you? There you are. There's the hole through the center of the sketch for it, and the last thing then was to extrude that through. Okay, so that's the workflow for this V-groove pulley. Let's start actually doing one. So File, New, and save it straight away. V-groove demo, I'm going to call mine. Get rid of that capital R, it's a bit silly. Click on Save. And then we can start to do our sketches. So you're just going to have to listen to the different dimensions that I give to the different cylinders and so on. I got my notes here in front of me. Okay, so the first cylinder that we want to draw, let's start drawing this from the base up, say. C for circle, click to the center, drag out, and the diameter of this first one is 11.3. That's just measured off the calipers, and we'll zoom fit that, and we'll turn it sideways. And we're going to extrude that surface up, so we've finished the sketch. Select the surface, click on extrude, drag the arrow up, and this distance, the whole thing is 7.9, you guessed it. And now we're going to draw the V-groove going through the center of this thing. So to draw on a plane going through the center, click on to the sketch tool. We want to locate either this vertical or this vertical plane here. Either one doesn't really matter, not the horizontal one, either of these two vertical. It's really handy that when you draw things cylindrical, you always start with the circle in the center of these two X and Y axes, so that when you do want to draw something on a plane, the plane is already there running right through the center. So let's just choose this axis here, sorry, this plane here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to project some information from one of these views here. So I'm going to now go to my line tool, and you can see here, even though I'm hovering it over this edge, it's not snapping to it. And the same thing down here, because there's no sketch there. So I'm going to use the project command. So go to create, come down to 2 from the bottom to where it says project. I'm going to click on this top edge and click on this bottom edge, and you'll see it turns them blue. The beauty of the project function is that I can now use those ends of those lines that have been projected as geometry or reference points for my outlines. So I projected the top edge, I projected the bottom edge. Now I'm going to draw a line between these two. And halfway along this line, I'm going to start the depth of my V groove. So I move my cursor, and halfway along it turns into that equilateral triangle. Click once. And at this point, rather than draw this line in as a full line, what I'm going to do is jump over here and turn on construction. This line, I want it to be a depth of, if I can see in my notes, 1.5. Enter. And I'm going to zoom it up a little bit. Now I'm going to jump out of construction mode by clicking onto that icon, back to my line tool, and the end of that line you can see I can snap to it, click once, drag away. Now I'm not interested at all in how long this is, as long as it's going past the edge of my cylinder there. But what I am interested in is the angle. So if I hit the tab button, you see that it then goes to what the degrees are. Now it's reading 152 because this is 0, there's 90, and obviously we're adding, well, we're taking 180, and I want this angle in here to be 30. Sorry, I should have told it before. So to make that happen, this angle needs to be 150, and hit return. I'm going to do the same thing now for a line below it. So from the same center point here, click once. Oops, line always helps. Click once, drag it away. Don't really care about the length, or I probably could do something like this. Hopefully, yep. Hit T for tab. Once again, 150 degrees. And hit enter. And I can simply join those two together now. Oh, sorry, not the rectangle, with the line tool. So we've now got ourselves a profile there. Alright, so we can now revolve this triangle around our cylinder to cut out that V groove. So finish the sketch. Just going to go to my 3D view. You can see there's my V groove there. So what I'll do now is go to revolve. It's asking me where's the profile. I select that profile. That should be all I need to do. Now it's asking me for the axis of revolution. So click on axis, and I could select this axis here, or if you can see, it's just selecting the outside of the cylinder. That is the common axis. So the axis of this V groove and the axis of the cylinder are the same thing. So if I select that cylinder, you'll see it gives me a preview of cutting out that V going all the way around. Of course, you can change the amount of degrees, totally up to you what you want to do there. Let's change it to 360. We're going to cut it, we're not going to add it on. And objects to cut, well, you can specify what you do and don't want to cut there, but that's default is good. Click OK, and yes, the V has been successfully cut. Alright, so the next thing to do is then to put this circular step down on both sides or both ends. So a slight variation to the just sort of drawing them on both ends. We'll draw it on one end and extrude it, and then I'll show you use the plane and mirror tool to do it on this other side. Okay, so I'm going to select this bottom surface here, sketch, C for circle, click 1 to the outside circle, another C for circle, and click 1 to the inside. But this diameter is going to be, what have I got written here, 7.5. And let's finish that sketch. We can see there's our profile. So extrude, select, and I'm looking at my notes for what depth I made that. Ooh, I didn't measure that one there. Okay, let's make that 1.5. Let's make that 1 actually. 1 millimeter in that direction. Make sure it says cut, which it does. You've only selected the outside profile, and click OK. And in retrospect that looks a little bit too narrow, so I'm just going to go back to my original, and I'm just going to use my measure tool here, measure from these two profiles, and the distance is actually 0.8, so I'll go back to here. I'll go do that last extrusion. I'm going to right click on it and edit it and change it from -1 to -0.8 and hit enter. Alright, I suppose I could have done exactly the same thing on this surface, but showing how you can mirror a feature by using a construction plane, I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to use a construction plane going right through the center of my V here. So to create a construction plane through another object, we go mid plane, select this plane, flip it over, select that plane, and you can see now the mid point or the mid distance between those two planes. We now have this yellow or orangey square which represents a construction plane. Click OK. I'm going to use this as a mirroring plane. So now I want to mirror that extrusion over to the other side. So the easiest thing to select an extrusion is to go down and find it in the timeline here. So click once onto it, you can see it highlights. Come to create and mirror. You can see it's highlighting a feature which is selected. It's now asking for the mirroring plane. We click in that box, we click onto the mirroring plane, and you can see now the preview over here. Click OK, and we've now mirrored that around like so. Of course, the last thing to do is then to put the hole through the center. Let's draw a hole through there. C for circle, and I think it's a diameter of 4.8. And then just extrude that through. Turn off that plane, and there is our V-groove complete. We might turn the sketches off as well. Okay, it's looking good. Alright, there's your V-groove tutorial number 20.